Hey everyone, welcome to the show. Tonight we're going to talk about confronting the fear of success. And if you're here, you're well on your way. Those who are not here are missing the opportunity to
Co
confront that fear of
Stop
success.
avoiding it.
I'm Dr. Assatar Bear, my co-teacher here, Leah Schaefer.
Welcome, everybody.
And we felt like this was an important topic because, it's like we have, uh, all have so many fears. Let's be honest, right? I mean, fear is something that we deal with as human beings, and part of it is functional, like it keeps us alive, and part of it is not functional. It limits us and limits who we are becoming, and limits our potential. So it's a
Yeah,
lot for
that's
us to
true.
separate that and come to the truth of like what's the good part of this, what's the useful signal here, and then what's the part that we can discard. um, and especially when it
That's
comes to
yeah.
success, right? Can we hold our position? Can we
Yes.
feel like this is real, this is who we are? Do we feel like an imposter, right? Imposter syndrome is all
Mhm.
part of this. So, we're always trying to be useful here and trying to think about, well, what stuff do we go through, and maybe it's helpful to you all. So we wanted to just talk about it and see what we could experience in meditation that might help.
Absolutely well said, Asatar. So this is something so the more that I researched, the fear of success, because the fear of failure almost seems obvious, and I always thought of myself as having a fear of failure, but recently I'm realizing as I achieve more things in my life that I am really scared of it. And so
Well, it's very
whether,
honest.
whether, whether, whether I succeed or I fail, I'm fucking scared. And so
Right.
but so I've been reading up on the topic because I was like, ooh, I want to like dig into this a bit. And I really thought of it as like a small part of myself, but the more I read, I was like, whoa, I have a lot of this actually.
Yeah.
Um, and just like some of the things that kind of stuck out to me around the topic, just to orient everybody, maybe you can relate to it. Um, it's like when we get the thing we want, maybe we've been working real hard for it and like finally it's here. And when we get the thing that we want, sometimes there's like an extreme amount of fear that might come up with that. And some of the reasons for that could be also already mentioned some, but some of them could be that I have a lot of fear that I can't sustain it.
Mhm.
Like like I have it right now, but it's gonna get taken away. I'm not gonna be able to like, ooh, trying to write and so there's like a big fear of like losing it or not being able to sustain it. And I think that totally ties in with like two other ones, which is like the imposter, like, oh, do I really deserve this? Right. And then there's this other aspect of the perfectionist, so a lot of times like we'll avoid even going toward our goal because it's not good enough yet. It have to be perfect first. um and so there's something about that too, of like only if I do it perfectly, then maybe I can sustain it, like that kind of thing goes through my mind all the time, which is good because it drives me toward great success. But at the same time, it's quite stressful, a lot of pressure, and so there's that aspect to it. And even more
Absolutely.
than that, yeah, yeah,
Absolutely. And I think, just being aware that that's happening, being aware that that's a fear, is important. We don't want to deny this. We're not able to confront things if we deny them. Um,
yes.
we have a comment here from our friend, our
Oh,
Caduce.
IQ.
Good to see you. You're not allowed to become a successful spiritual teacher until you're sure that you do not want to do that. That's the paradox of that particular field,
The contradictions begin.
right?
And that's like
Contradiction.
that's the other, it's true, it's like, and it's true with the spirituality, like being a meditation teacher or yoga teacher, it's like, yeah, you can't want it, and you have to want it real bad though. You're gonna have it.
Yeah. I
The
mean, the reality is
contradictions.
that you have to want something in order to achieve something. I mean, things don't
Yes.
just fall in your lap
And
very
you have to
often.
work real and you have to work real hard too for it too when you want something. You
Yeah.
have to work for it. Yeah,
I mean,
but
the contradiction about the spiritual business is that, you're not supposed to have desires and, you're not supposed to assert yourself because that's ego or whatever, and so it's full of its own
very
contradictions.
confusing. Oh, and so this is a new one, which I thought was really interesting too. Was that you can, and I identify with this. It's basically like you're afraid of the consequences of being successful. And so
Yeah.
I have this in me. Like I don't like to make other people feel bad about themselves. And so like there's something about like if I'm successful, what will other people think? And like there's like this aspect of like, well, I want to empower them. I don't want to make them feel worse about themselves. And there is a certain like fear around that, but also so it's like kind of like the consequence of being punished for being successful. And
Yeah.
I totally have that. And like I heard somebody recently say, well, if I become successful, then people will attack me, like people will
Mm.
blame you, people, and I'm sure you as a public figure, Asatar, you really experience this. Like a lot of people attack you, you know? So, so, not luckily not physically, but with their words.
Yeah,
Um,
I think it feels the same to you on a kind of an ego level, right? Like a verbal attack. It feels like an attack on your person, and
yeah,
you starts racing, and you get this stress response and all of this, and it's true that you attract attention. I mean, whenever you succeed, whenever you accomplish anything, you attract attention, and there's always going to be some people who are envious. And I can really relate to that one. Just I remember when I was younger, when I was an athlete in high school and college, and I ran track and I rode on a crew team and stuff, and there was a part of me that always felt like that I didn't really deserve to win,
mm,
and part of it manifested it as like um, that. That that if I lost, I could handle it or something, and maybe somebody else couldn't, or like this kind of
wow. That,
yeah.
yeah, totally.
So it's interesting, like the ways that we limit ourselves because, and I'm not saying this is coming from a good place. This is like unconscious stuff that I hadn't worked out.
Yeah,
I think competition
totally.
is an opportunity to bring out the best in everyone, right? I mean, it's not a in its deepest place, it's not about making others feel bad, right? It's about pushing yourself to be the best that you can be, right? Regardless of the outcome. Um, so there's something very positive in that. But
Yeah.
when you're holding yourself back, right? Obviously, you're not going to be as successful, and that holds for anything, whether it's a
Mhm.
competitive endeavor. You know,
Yeah, and it's also I think for me, it's also tied in with this feeling of wanting to belong and fit in, like, if I
yeah,
deviate from the norm of what I've been told a woman should be in my childhood, then what's gonna happen? What's gonna be the consequence?
yeah,
Um, and yeah. So there's something about, like, belonging. I don't wanna be to the point where people can't relate to me, where people can't, like, and especially as a total spiritual weirdo, like, that's like that's like
I
one of
mean,
those things.
I mean, observing this from the outside, it seems to me that women get particularly, suffer from that being in the spotlight, or get a lot of criticism, particularly from other women. And I don't know if that's more so than men or whatever, but like it's just something that seems to be happening.
Yeah, well, and it comes across like of this feeling of wanting, very much wanting and needing to belong, and at the same time, as a person that has dedicated my life toward mysticism and spiritual realization, you're going toward your fullest potentials, and
Yeah,
and then we only show if we're being, good teachers, like we're only showing the boon, not the baggage, and we're giving the treasures away, right? But we're not showing the blood and the sweat and the tears, which is pretty much 70% of the time. So it's like, like And we're just showing that part of it. And it's just a real, I find that like it's a real art form. It's a real art form to hold success in this way that still welcomes inspiration and still also um, allows you to be yourself, your imperfect self, like all the things at once. I just find it to be a real art form, and we can just so easily go to our head. At least I can just so easily go to my head with it. And so I
Absolutely.
I definitely need I definitely need this work. And I think one of the things about it is, for me on a fundamental level, is just believing in myself and having faith.
Yeah. Faith is very, very important. And oh, we have another comment here. Stalin studied to be a priest. All right. Yeah. Interesting. It's good to have a variety of interests. But you have to believe in yourself, right? I mean, this is this and this is one of these things that you can make a decision about, right? You can say, um, I'm gonna choose to I'm gonna try that out. Let's try out that belief. What if I believe to myself, and then
Yeah.
I mean, because whether you do or you don't, you're right. That's it. That's the thing.
Well,
Um,
and it's also, it's like it's not meant to be the outer thing that drives it in a way. It's more just like the inner belief in my ability to give my art form out. So it's like if I just think about it as an art form, like this is my art form for my life, and your art form can be anything you want it to be. And
yeah.
even if you're an engineer, like that can be your art form. Like you're trying to do your best work and get your best work out. Um, and instead of the reward being praise, or the punishment being blame, or anything else that's very like heady, kind of outward, like looking for that outward validation, if it's more of just that internal belief of why
Right.
I'm doing what I'm doing, and like my internal belief of like, what am I really doing here? I'm just sharing what I see. I'm just giving the light that I found, or the love that I found, and trying to share that with other people. Then the belief comes from within, and my ability to believe in myself to create. Then the belief starts to come from within. And I find that that's probably the solution that myself I need the most anyway.
Yeah. And there's something very powerful about embracing the process, right? And not thinking so much about the end result and this is where I want to get to, but what does it feel like to do the work each day? I mean, like you said, it's not all building the foundation is often very much not glamorous. That's not the feeling point. But that's what it takes, right? Of anything, it's built out of small steps, and a lot of those aren't the very exciting, but why do you do it? You well, perhaps you enjoy the work, and that you can take some in pleasure in that, right, regardless of the result, um,
Yeah.
and think less about the success or failure aspect of it, and sometimes that can kind of ground us, and because it's like you think so much about what's going to happen, you're not thinking about what's happening now.
Yeah.
And you're thinking
Yeah.
less about that.
Yes, exactly. Yeah. Yeah. What about yourself, Asatar? How do you relate to this topic?
Well, it's definitely relevant for me too. It's funny because when we were talking about this last week, I remember you said, "Well, you don't have the fear of success." It's interesting assumption.
I definitely just don't think that way about you.
I mean, so I have different ways of showing or not showing things. I think I mean that's part of it. I mean, I think obviously, like men are acculturated to not be open and honest about our fears, and that's like going against the grain. Um,
Yeah.
yeah, but I can certainly relate to things like um, needing it to be perfect before putting it out there, or uh, or procrastinating, I mean, doing things that feel like self-destructive, and
Yeah.
and it's like, where does this come from? Where does this where and how do we work on this? And that feeling of like, do I deserve this, or am I worthy of this? I think
Yes.
that's a salient one for me too.
Yes.
So yeah, I mean, what I think of is like, these are like, in meditation, you're confronting your inner world, right? And the inner world is like, you got there's all this stuff going on, right? You have all these thoughts and feelings, and conscious and unconscious, and how do you make sense of all of this, right? And one of the ways that I kind of organize it and make sense of it is this something that is deep and lasting within me,
I love that. Yeah.
because then, if it's something that is like a recurrent, if it's like a part of my being, part of who I
Yeah.
am, then it feels like, okay, I'm getting to something that is the truth of my being,
Mhm.
as opposed to things that represent my limitations, my fears, my illusions, right? All of that, which I don't, these things exist, but I don't want to
Yeah.
come from that place, right? I don't want to, because it's so limited, right? I want to come from
Yes.
that timeless truth of my being. And it seems to me that this is where meditation can really be helpful when it comes to
Yeah.
this particular issue, because you by really entering into this state of what is the truth within yourself, um, then you get a much more powerful felt experience of
Yeah.
that, you know and it's not about talk, it's not about concepts, it's not about telling yourself this, that, or the other thing.
Mhm.
And that can be helpful, right? That everything has its place. But I'm just saying, what can meditation really do that other things maybe can't, right? Um,
Yeah.
there's overlap
Well, and
between every kind of self improvement.
yeah, and when I was reflecting on the topic, it's almost like within myself, it's like if I focus on the limitations or the fears, then it's like I'm almost worshiping them. It's like when I stare into the darkness, I'm going to be blind, and that's going to cause more fear. Versus if I'm honing in, like you said so eloquently, to the truth within me, that to something that's lasting and deep within me, then I'm attuning myself to the light, and the belief in myself is that I'll be able to face the obstacles as they come. And that you said so eloquently the other day too about how it's just like a growing process. It's a process of learning and growing. So it's never about going to some top of the mountain and staying there. It's about just every step of the way, like experiencing the journey of what it means to culminate into our truest version of ourselves.
Yeah,
And
absolutely.
it takes the pressure off. In a way, it takes the pressure off of that, and it's like that faith is that I'm staying in attunement with my inner truth, that which is lasting within me. And then the journey, you're never going to know, you can't control that, but like
Yeah.
you can stay in alignment with your own inner truth.
I also very much have to say I relate to that thing that you said about, can I maintain this? Like,
Yeah.
okay, I got here, but can I stay here? That thing, um, and I think this is, we have this narrative so strongly, this happily ever after kind of narrative. Right?
It's
I get to
true.
this place and then it's happily ever after, right?
Done.
From there on.
Check.
Yeah. And that's not how life is, right? Of course, life keeps on moving and growing and developing, and as long as we are alive, right? Even probably afterwards. So it's good to just kind of keep that in mind, and maybe that's just a way for us to try to put this into some kind of container that we feel like we can control, when that's not. Again, that's the illusion, that's the fear. We're not going to be able to
Yeah.
put life into a box that we can control, that we can
No.
conceptualize as much as we might want to.
Yep. Oh, it's so funny. That's so eloquently said. Okay, we should meditate.
All right, let's do that.
Let's meditate. I'll start us off. We'll just do a short one this time, everybody. A nice 10-minute meditation to get warmed up. If you're afraid of succeeding at meditation, you probably should be because it's going to blow you away. The reality is that once you reach unity consciousness, you will be blown out of your own water. So, let's, but let's go toward it anyway. Go ahead and close your eyes or soften your gaze. Find your meditation posture. And that's kind of one of the things is like you can control that part of it. You can control your posture. In meditation postures, you want to bring the knees lower than the hips so that you can breathe more easily. So maybe that's in a chair, maybe that's on a cushion, maybe that's laying on the ground in a healing posture. But today, since we're talking about success, maybe being upright might be more suitable for you. When we start to try to control things, that our breath will be very constricted. Our whole body will constrict, all of our muscles. And so try to let your muscles loosen, right? Like maybe you are about to take the stage. Maybe you are ready for this step of your life to occur, something you've been knowing internally, the truth you've been knowing internally as your truest self. And you are starting to realize that in the outer form, or taking a step toward realizing that in the outer form. And the fear kicks in. And then we want to control. And so then we constrict our muscles. And so, first step, try to relax your muscles. Try to relax all the muscles so that they can kind of gently drape over the bones of your body that you're setting up into your optimal posture, your optimal form. And what really, really helps is start to deepen your breathing. To deepen your breathing, you want your diaphragm muscle to move to its fullness. So, diaphragm muscle is a big umbrella along the perimeter of your of the lower rib cage. And we usually breathe with just one little part of that muscle. Try to breathe with the whole muscle, allowing the whole rib cage to expand, allowing your breath to go all the way to the depths of your abdomen, maybe even letting your abdomen expand. And then for today, let's hold our breath at the top of the inhalation. So after you get that feeling like you took your full breath in, you relaxed your muscles enough, took that full breath in, bring it low into your body, not into the chest, low into your body, and hold for any amount of time there. And then when you're ready, you're going to exhale, but not only a normal exhalation, you're going to add in the vigor of finishing your exhalation, finishing your life's work, finishing your soul's self-expression on the bottom of that exhale. So get all your breath out. This is the point where we use meditation to practice this. Get all of yourself fully expressed outward. Let your body, your energy body, be big as you exhale and complete your exhalation. And then the new life comes in, and that's part of what we're afraid of, is that newness, that big rush of energy that's going to come towards us once we're successful. But you get to direct it. And so direct that fullness of life that comes back in into the depths where you can feel the holding of your heart, the holding of your root. And then even hold your breath, allowing yourself to feel yourself holding a greater capacity of life in your body. Continue to breathe this way. Complete full exhalation out. Give it all, give everything you have Direct the new huge wave of life that's going to come back towards you when you do that. Huge wave of life will come and you direct it. That's your ability to master yourself, to master your life, to master the energies of life moving through you. Direct it all the way to the depths of you, through the heart and through the root, for that holding of your new capacity. Holding your breath in, feeling yourself holding the new capacity that you have created. Keep breathing this way and start to find your heart. Start to find your heartbeat. Feel your heartbeat as much as you can. Your heartbeat will be your kind of honing device home, your honing device back into your long-lasting truth, your long-lasting light, as Asatar said. So life is moving, the breath is moving, it ebbs and flows, and you are anchoring yourself into your heartbeat, your truth, your light, the steadiness of that, the constancy of that as life continues to move through with your breathing. Try to sense and feel your heartbeat throughout the entire duration of this 3-part breath. Maybe you use a pulse point to do that, but I want you to really look inside tonight. Really try to feel your heartbeat the whole time, even if you're just sensing it for the first time. It's there. Have faith that your heart is there. And this time, allowing yourself to focus so deeply on that inner heart, on your heart itself, and on your inner truth, on your inner light. And the next time that you hold your breath in, have the feeling that your heart's energy is expanding. It's getting bigger to hold all the fear, to hold all the success, to increase its actual capacity. And then keep breathing, holding on the inhalation and allowing your heart's energetic field to get bigger. Can your heart hold this? All the fear, excitement, anxiety, all the success, all the energy of where your life has come to, what you have become. And now you can let go of breathing with the holding in your breath pattern. Just inhale and exhale, full rhythmic breathing. But feel your heart as a full heart, as a powerful heart holding the entirety of your experience right now and the entirety of your success. And not from your mind, but from your heart. Find the feeling of believing in yourself. Maybe it's the little s self, maybe it's the big S self. They're both in your heart at the same time. Holding on to the inner light of yourself, that it will guide you. Your heart's light will guide you on your path ahead with all the unknowns, with all the praise and the blame, all the same. Believe in your heart's light, in your heart's capacity, in your heart, in yourself. And what does your heart's light want to share? What do you want to share? Rise your light on high. That's what they tell us to do. Don't hide it under a bushel. What does your heart's light want to share? What's the light that you want to get out? If you become scared when you start to sense that, hold the breath again, letting your heart's capacity grow again. In a way, this is how to keep success before your view, but from within. Keeping your focus on success, but from within. And then thank your heart for all that it has held, all the experiences it's held for you, and all of the light that it's giving to you toward your path ahead, all the life it wants to share. And then when you're ready, move your body and open up your eyes.
Nice meditation, Leah. Thank you.
Thank you, Asatar.
I was as we sat, I was thinking about this theme of of faith in oneself and belief in oneself. But oh, let's see, we have a comment here.
Maria.
This meditation, let me see, we live in a world that largely bases itself on alienating and dividing others. Yeah, very true.
Yes.
Takes strength
Yeah.
and bravery to love one another and oneself in that process. Yeah,
Yes. Hmm.
nice, nice.
Absolutely, Maria. Thank you for your contribution.
Yeah.
Mm.
Well, if you got that from the meditation, I'd say that's a very good thing to get. Yeah.
Absolutely.
I think
Absolutely.
when we sit, we let down our guard. We stop insisting so much that we're separate from others and all of life. And that it's good. It's good to do that. But
Mm.
but I was thinking about there's a kind of grand version of believing in yourself that's sort of naive, and it's like oh,
Mm.
you can be in the Olympics. It's like, yeah, you probably can, but there might be 100,000 steps between here and there. So don't confuse like the goal with saying there's one step to get there, and like so
Mm.
what like because a lot of times I think when like our culture says believe in yourself, right? And sometimes it can seem very overblown, like are we supposed to believe anything, but it's like what is it that you're called on to believe, it's the
Mm.
belief that you can take that next tiny step, you know?
Mm.
Not that you
Mm.
can take one step and fly to the moon, right? But that
Right.
you can take that smallest step forward, whatever it is, right?
Yeah.
Because and
Yeah.
sometimes we're wrong about what the step is. This was my problem, back to my own issues with all this, right? Like I would often take two big steps, I mean, I think sometimes when you're talented at something, you want to make faster progress than maybe is realistic.
Yeah.
But maybe that is another manifestation of not believing in yourself. That you choose something that's just unrealistic. As
Yeah.
a and then if you fail at that, then it's the wrong psychology, right? Like you think about it like if you're building a fire, you need to feed that fire small pieces of wood, I mean, if you give it too big
Yeah.
a piece, even though that's its fuel, it's too big a piece for that particular fire at that particular time, right? You build it up with small pieces and then okay, now we can put a whole log in and whatever, and the
Yeah.
fires
I
keep
love
going.
that. Yeah, that's
So
such a
we
good
have
thing
to
for me to
respect,
hear. That's such a good thing for me to hear. Yeah. I'm
we
all
have to respect the step. And that's a fire, that's a
I'm
literal fire, right? A fire can be put out, it's fuel,
yeah.
So we have to keep
Yeah.
that in mind for ourselves too.
Yeah, there's like a certain patience with success too, because it's like it's not supposed
Yeah,
to be all at once and it's not supposed to be only up. It's like there's a certain level of that again, it comes back to like the trust. Like every step,
yeah,
is important toward that so that you can hold that is creating the holding ability with it because it's like when you build it almost brick by brick, you hold the spirit of the love of the light, you hold that spirit with it, but it is very much moving the cedar blocks one at a time, you know.
yeah,
Cinder,
right.
not cedar. Mm, so, yeah.
I love to do martial arts, so one of the things I do is Brazilian jiu-jitsu, and it's a grappling, right? So you're pinning and trying to submit people and whatever, and so one of the things one of my teachers taught me is like you learn a technique and then you try it out on the smallest, weakest, least skilled person you can find, you know? And I go, "Oh, that's what I've been doing wrong," like I would I would learn a technique and I try it on the biggest, strongest, best person I could find, and it's like that person has a lot of opportunities. They have a lot of abilities to shut down your new technique that you've just learned, like that is it. example of like, throwing too big of a log on that fire that's just a little tiny flame, it's
Yeah,
unlikely to work, and then you're
yeah,
not setting yourself up for that success, right? And then if you
yeah,
have some setbacks, it's like, well, then it becomes harder to believe in yourself, right? So you need
mhm,
to nurture the flame of success, right? And nurture that flame of faith in yourself with very wise decisions about like, well, what are you trying to accomplish in this at this moment?
yes. Ugh, wisdom is so hard. I I opened this guy on, the complete sayings of Hazrat Khan. I open it obsessively, like, every day. It's something I do all the time. It's all these
Right.
sayings, these thousands of sayings by Hazrat Khan, and, like, often, more often than not, he'll be like, not this is not these are not his words, but he'll talk about wisdom and he'll talk about acting wisely, and I'm like, "Yeah, like, but what is that?" Like, like,
Mhm.
how what is the wise choice? And I find it
What's the
so
wise choice?
elusive. Yeah, I'm just like, "But what is it, though?" Oh god, wisdom. Wisdom, if I ever get wisdom down, I'll be so happy. Mm.
Actually funny for me to hear you say that because I do think of you as a very wise person, and I have no doubt that most of the people in your life probably see you that way too, but it's like there's always a gap, like how do we see ourselves, right? We're familiar with our
Uh,
foibles, we're familiar with our
mhm.
limitations, and we're like,
Yeah.
oh,
We
I do
all
silly things all the time.
we all have our growing edge. So
Yeah, right. From the outside, people say, "Well,
mm.
you're so wise," Say, "Well, I'm so wise. Why did I make this silly error?
Yeah, yes.
Why
Well,
don't I have
Asatar,
it all
you should
figured out?"
why don't I why isn't it perfect? Um,
Exactly.
so, yeah, yeah. So, Asatar,
Time,
we should
time for our next
you should
meditation.
guide us, yeah.
All right.
Speaking of wisdom, the
All right.
time
Well,
has
let's
come. All right.
take our nice upright meditation posture and close your eyes and go within and tune into your breath. Now, this method of meditation that I'll share with you is heart rhythm meditation. This comes from the tradition of Sufism, in the lineage of Hazrat Inayat Khan. And the method is to really work on perfecting the breath. So we'll go through what that means, but I'll just tell you it means to make your breath deep, slow, rhythmic, heart centered, and full. And each one of these elements is a deep study. And it's like any art form, you can return to the basics and find more and more in them. But first of all, why do we focus on the breath at all? We have the option to pay attention to our breath or not. Luckily, our breath will continue to happen even if we don't pay attention to it. But by paying attention to it, we can shift the pattern of our breathing. And the mystics have taught us that breath is life, and changing your breath is changing your life on a very fundamental level. So, when we talk about confronting fear, when we talk about trying to separate between what is real and what is illusion, the breath can be an incredibly powerful tool for that. And even more so if we really hone the breath. So, as Leah shared with us during her meditation, it's really opening the belly and working with this diaphragmatic breathing, breathing in and allowing the belly to expand, to get bigger, to let down our armor. And as we breathe out, the belly gets smaller. We use the abdominal muscles here to squeeze the breath. And this is deep breathing. This is our first element of this practice. Breathing in and out in the belly. It brings your energy down into your body, and it moves us out of that stress response of breathing in the upper chest, which is so easy a pattern for us to get into. The next step is to slow down the breathing so that the breath takes longer. Each breath is longer than you're used to. If you don't pay attention to your breath, you might take 20 or 25 breaths a minute. So a breath every few seconds. So using your mind, focusing your mind on your breath, just allow your breath to take a longer amount of time. Now you're doing both of these things at once. So you're breathing into your belly and also breathing more slowly. I notice that these things kind of happen naturally. They work well together. Now we would like to make the breath rhythmic because breath is life and this life has balance. And particularly, we're interested in the balance between what we give to life and what we receive from life. If we give more than we receive, we get depleted, we get burned out. And if we receive more than we give, well, we're not operating at our full capacity. We become dissatisfied. We feel that frustration that comes from not giving our all. So we want to move toward making the breath, both parts of the breath, the inhalation and the exhalation, the same length and the same intensity. This creates rhythm and balance in the breath. Now, at the same time, we want the breath to be heart centered. We want the breath to energize the core of who we are, and that is your heart. Your heart incorporates, it holds, it is all that you are, all that you love, all that you value, your whole being, what you hew to, who you really are. Your heart holds the light of your soul, your timeless essence. We make the breath heart centered by feeling that it is our heart that is breathing. So as you breathe in, now the air part of the breath, of course, is coming in through your nostrils. But breath is also energy, and that energy goes wherever you think about it going, wherever you direct it with your mind. So you direct this flow of energy, this flow of breath, right into your heart, right into the center of your chest. so that you feel that your chest is taking in breath, taking in life, taking in light, taking in love. For this is what is literally happening. The breath is all of those things and more. And as you breathe out, you are radiating the energy of the breath from your heart. I have something special to add in heart rhythm meditation, and that is a focus on the actual beating of your heart. Now, this may take some time to learn. You might not get this right away, so if you're not getting it, that's okay. But what I'd like you to do is to make your inhalation and exhalation the same length by counting the beats of your heart as you breathe in and counting the beats of your heart as you breathe out and making sure that that's the same number. This is difficult. You're going to be breathing very differently than you do normally. It takes a lot of concentration. But that's good because it trains your mind. It gives your mind something to do. And meanwhile, this manner of breathing is very powerful for the spiritual development of your heart. Now, if you do this practice regularly, or if you have the aspiration to, I would like you to get to the place where you can breathe in for 8 beats and breathe out for 8 beats of your heart. But it's a process. You might not be able to jump right to that point. So you just take small steps. Whatever step is right for you at this time. Maybe it's just making your breath deep and slow. Maybe that's enough for you for today. Maybe you can add the focus on your heart. Maybe this business with the heartbeat is too much. That's okay. I'm throwing out all of the steps. I'm giving you all the steps for you to use as you can. Now, the final step is to make your breath full. And that means to really engage the abdominal muscles in the breathing process and really squeeze out all of the breath as you breathe out, envisioning your belly flattening against your spine. Breathing out far, far more than you think you can. And then opening and expanding and controlling the breath, not letting it rush all back in. Controlling the flow of the breath so that it's even and smooth. Opening the belly, opening the ribs, opening the chest so that the breath comes all the way up to your collarbone. And when you develop the full breath, you don't just stay in the belly, you work with the breathing all the way into the chest. So we start by working to develop the deep breath in the belly. But when we really make the breath big and full, we're going to involve the chest as well. Now, I know that this is a lot, what I've given you to do. So you can see it as a challenge. Please don't see it as if you're not doing 100% of it that you failed. You could be doing 1% of it, and that's a success. So, this is the foundation of heart rhythm meditation, what I've given you. And then we have ways of tuning the breath. We work with this foundation, this becomes the building block. And then we add to the breath. We add other things. We add an intention. We add a visualization. We add other practices. Once we've gotten good at the foundation, then we can add more to it. We can, for example, breathe in through the mouth and breathe out through the nose. This is a practice called the fire breath. Now, keep in mind, I would like you to add this to everything else that you're doing. The energy of fire moves upwards and forwards. Fire is a metaphor for a certain kind of energy, an energy that has radiance, that lifts you up, that has power. Just as light creates sharp distinctions, and we see this is light, this is shadow. By turning this energy within, we can tune ourselves toward truth. We can see what is true and what is illusion. And we can use this to give us an experience that will help us confront that fear of success. Because we can say, what is that next small step that I could take? That small step forward. It could be the tiniest step imaginable. As long as it is a step forward, that's all we need. Can I take that step? Maybe you have your doubts. Maybe you say, I'm not sure. I'll make the step smaller then. Maybe you're trying to do too much. Get to one that you're absolutely 100% certain that you can nail it. And this is how you build. This is the building block of an unshakable faith in yourself. What is it that you are cultivating? What is it that you believe? That you can take a series of small steps that in the end will add up to a great journey that will take you to your goal. As you breathe into your heart and uncover the truth of your being, you might find that certain things that you thought you knew about yourself just were not true. That in the light of truth, these things were just shadows. Your heart knows the truth because your heart is the truth. The fears and doubts are like the clouds before the sun. They will pass. The sun will remain. All right, we'll end our meditation there.
Incredible, Osaka. Thank you. Mm. I thought
Looks
of
like,
I thought of my next step.
all right, good.
Yeah, very empowered by that. It was such an incredible meditation. Thank you.
Thank you. I'm glad to hear that.
Mm.
It looks like we're out of time for tonight. Thank you all for joining us. We'll be here next week. And if you'd like to
Mm.
support the show, please go to the Patreon link. And if you're in Tucson, you really should take a yoga class with Leah at Yoga
Yes, come
Oasis.
to Yoga Oasis.
Um, take care, everyone, and may you find success.
Thank you.